So you remember red phone boxes? Yeah, those things that used to, I don't know, make phone calls? Now they sell smoothies or herbal teas or house a defibrillator that no one really knows how to use. Or even worse, they just stand there, dead-eyed and hollow like a Love Island contestant after week 5. And honestly, that's just kind of the whole country right now. So in my last video, I talked about gentrification, how places like Venice have been turned into tourist dollhouses, beautiful, curated, and completely empty. This one, this is about us. Because we didn't just gentrify the buildings, we gentrivacated the soul. So this is my B-side. The quieter track doesn't go viral, but it stays in your head for days. It's less Bezos and more British heartbreak, more less architecture and more emotional damage. We're going to talk about a red phone box in Yorkshire, a field of forgotten icons in Surrey, and what happens when we stop living in our country and start just posing in it. So, yes, I am doing a whole episode about a phone box. In the Venice video, I talked about gentrification, when cities are hollowed out by Airbnb culture and tourism. But here I wanted to introduce a slightly different twist on the idea: gentrivacated. That's when you lose something precious, not because it was taken from you, but because you let it go. We didn't just gentrify the cities, we gentrivacated the soul. So if you like these kind of conversations, then maybe think about giving this a like or even subscribe. It really helps, especially while I'm still in these early days. So I came across this article the other day. Apparently, in a village in North Yorkshire, one of those old red telephone boxes is still in use. Not as a novelty, not for smoothies or street poetry or heritage themed espresso shots, but for actual 999 emergency calls. And I read that and I thought, yes, it still has purpose. There's something quietly perfect about that. Not people using it to make 999 calls, but people using it. We talk so much about saving the big stuff, the cathedrals, the palazzos, the iconic skylines, but this was a little reminder that soul lives in the small stuff too. Architecture isn't just buildings, it's surroundings, street corners, what you see when you're lost or stuck or just walking by, living. So a few years ago, I was supposed to meet my mum in Green Park in central London. My phone had died and I was scraping together coins in the bottom of my bag. I ducked into a red phone box and I called her. It wasn't a dramatic moment, but it stayed with me because I felt like I was using the city the way it was meant to be used. This was pre-COVID, pre-cashless, pre-London feeling like an uncanny valley version of itself. And ironically, it's the same phone box which now doesn't work, where people now queue up to take photos of themselves in it, pretending to make a phone call with Big Ben, sorry, the Elizabeth Tower in the background. And it got me thinking, what happens when the backdrop of our lives gets rebranded out of recognition? Red phone boxes, they've been turned into smoothie bars or coffee on the go kiosks. The double decker route masters, they're retired. There's no charm, there's no bounce when you take the bus anymore. And post boxes, some are being painted blue for awareness. Awareness of what? Sadness? How far we've fallen? Even the pubs have been vibe shifted. You used to walk in and be hit by 200 years of history. Now, you're lucky to find where the inside matches the promise of the outside. Now it's Rosé All day neon signs in the windows and menus with bower buns. Bower buns in a British pub. We are not okay. And before you say, Emma, you're so anti progress, I'm not anti progress, okay? I use contactless. I've made peace with oat milk. I have a YouTube channel. I'm not trying to live in a Jane Austen novel, but I am asking, does everything have to become a UX prototype? Do we have to give up the good bits in the name of brand refresh? If you don't know what I mean by the term gentrification, it's a term I've coined to describe what happens when cities aren't just gentrified, but vacated by actual life. Not by disaster or decline, but by design. Airbnb takes over whole buildings, hotels muscle out homes, restaurants replace living rooms, and everything gets prettier, sleeker, more expensive, and emptier. And that's what happened in Venice. It became a theme park for water damage. But here's the real kicker: if the heritage of a place disappears, if the lived in, local, chaotic, beautiful parts vanish, what exactly are people visiting for? Why come to London if no one's actually using London? If you're just walking past facades, peeking into curated heritage corner like you're in Madame Tussauds, then London isn't a city, it's a museum. And eventually, no one comes to a museum where the exhibits don't move. Okay, so side note, yes, I'm about to talk about Paddington again. Don't roll your eyes at me, I know, but you know I love him. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll leave a link to the video I did about how we're using Paddington as a propaganda mouthpiece in the description box below. Um, but did you know that there's now a full Paddington Bear experience on the South Bank, where you can live out a curated fantasy version of Paddington's London in a warehouse next to the Thames? You can even see the street that he lives on. It's adorable, yes. You know what else is actually adorable? Actual Notting Hill, which is what, 8 tube stops away? If we're simulating it inside a warehouse next to the London Eye, it's because we no longer believe that the real thing exists. It's like Disneyland, but sad and damp, and without the comforting presence of Mickey Mouse. We're turning London into a set piece, a branded experience, a tourist experience. And that's when culture stops being lived and starts being merchandised. We're offering a photo op, and it's heartbreaking. Go east, the old East End. Cockneys, eel pies, pearly kings. The fabric of a once East End, it's gone. Not evolved, not revitalized, it's been erased. Now Essex is the last stronghold of that culture because everyone else got priced out, whitewashed out, or rebranded out. And it's not just about nostalgia, it's about recognizing yourself and your surroundings. Because when your high street looks like a mid tier co working space and your neighborhood pub looks like an Instagram mood board called Rustic Chic, you start to feel unmoored. The red phone box isn't just cute, it's belonging. And maybe that's why there's a phone box graveyard. No, seriously. Last week, The Sun ran an article on a field in Surrey with about 70 of them just sitting there, looking like a post apocalyptic tea towel design. And here's the twist, it's not a scrap heap, it's a resurrection site. A place where they're slowly, lovingly being restored by a company called Unicorn Restorations, which honestly sounds like a GCSE girl band, but it is keeping part of Britain's soul alive with red paint and polish. And I love that because it means someone somewhere still believes that these things are worth saving. And maybe that's the point. We don't need to reinvent everything. We just need to remember how to take care of it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. We're not just victims of rebranding and redevelopment. Sometimes we're the vandals. Red phone boxes covered in graffiti, smashed glass, wires ripped out, old pubs turned into Tesco Expresses, and no one showed up to protest. Or even worse, the town council made up your mind for you and got rid of the heart and soul. Entire towns built on pottery, on steel, on shipyards, now hollowed out, left with plaques of sites that used to be there and bad Wi-Fi. We are terrible custodians of our own country. We don't protect things, we don't restore things. We tag them, gut them, throw up an ironic mural and wonder why it doesn't feel like home anymore. Maybe the downfall of British beauty wasn't something done to us. Maybe it's something that we did to ourselves through apathy, through boredom, through a belief that the past is embarrassing and the future is a Costa with better lighting. In the Gentrivacation video, I asked you, what makes a good tourist? So here I wanted to ask, what makes a good citizen? Should preserving culture, not just buildings, but memory, purpose, meaning, be part of the job description? Because the thing is, in Venice, the architecture looks beautiful, but it's exhausted. Locals are protesting because their city has become a set piece for billionaires and bucket lists. Yes, some shopkeepers are welcoming the extra trade, but they're resisting being turned into someone else's souvenir. Britain, though, we're doing it voluntarily, not for Bezos, not even for billionaires, just for the branding. We're spotlighting these little monuments of history like their Instagram props, phone boxes, post boxes, Edwardian tiles, you name it. Not because we need them, but because we think they look like Britain trademark, the brand. And in the process, we've hollowed them out. We pose in the phone box, but we can't make a call. We take the photo, but we don't protect the thing itself. We let it get vandalized, smashed, graffitied, then complain when it's removed. We mourn icons after we've let them rot. We don't preserve, we perform. Beauty isn't optional. It's not a luxury. It's not just for galleries or tourists or people with a Pinterest board. We need it like we need air. Because when your surroundings are stripped, grey, low effort, people shrink. They get cynical. They get cold. They stop expecting good things, and that does something to a country. Maybe people hate their lives because their lives have become ugly. So here's the crux. These icons, the red phone box, the route master, the crusty pub carpet, they're not just kitsch or tourist bait. They're part of the infrastructure of our national vibe. They ground us. They connect every corner of the country together through shared identity and aesthetics. They connect us to memory, mischief, design, identity. They remind us that someone somewhere once thought it mattered that a city felt beautiful. Removing them doesn't just strip the soul from a place, it strips a little soul from us all. So here's my totally unserious but also dead serious pitch. Bring back the phone boxes. No, really. Make it a campaign. We've had worse. At least this one has character. Let them stand on corners doing absolutely nothing but looking fabulous. But let's love them, not mock them. Let's not abuse them, but rather let them be icons of the past Britain that we could lose but have chosen not to. Let the bus look like a tin lunchbox. Let the postbox look like it's been slapped. Give me crusty pubs, an old signage, and a bit of dust and history with tiles that weren't ordered on Wayfair. Because when you erase the details, you erase the soul. So if you're listening to this thinking, oh God, she's doing a whole episode about a phone box, yes. Yes, I am, and it matters. Because when you start curating your own country like a museum, you stop being a country and start being an exhibit. We didn't just gentrify our cities, we gentrivacated our culture. We hollowed out the icons that made Britain feel like Britain and let them rot for the aesthetic. Preserve the pub, cherish the crusty signage, let the route master that route again. And the next time someone tells you it's just a phone box, you look them square in the eye and say, no, it's Britain. And she's been having a midlife identity crisis. Because the day we lose them forever and tell ourselves that we didn't need these icons of history, utility, and style is the day we raise a generation that thinks culture isn't something you live in, it's just something you pose in front of. And by then, we won't just be gentrivacated, we'll be gone. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks.